This is the story of how my dreams turned to ashes and how I got scammed out of 10,000 euro. How I left everything for the program of my dreams, invested hard-earned money and was just left out on the street in a foreign country. I shared the beginning of this story in my previous vlog, and today I'll tell you how it ended and what I did afterward, where I went, how I survived and how I tried to move forward. After writing this story, it's hard to believe it actually happened to me in real life, that it's not a movie or a nightmare. The first part of my story ended with the owner of the school sending us this letter. I remember clearly, with trembling hands, I left the room and called all my roommates. Everyone came down and the only thing on our lips were just curse words. We just couldn't believe it. We just didn't want to. Deep down, I think everyone felt something like this could happen after all the incidents, but no one believed it would, because this program had been running for 13 years, and we all had acquaintances who had completed the program in previous years. Like me, I knew a girl from Ukraine who was in this program last year, and I even talked to her. She told me about housing in Copenhagen and getting temporary protection. When I asked her how she liked the program, the education and life in Denmark, she responded with just this. And nothing more. Just that short and dry sentence. Even then, it raised a red flag for me, but there was no turning back, as the payment for the program had already been made.
By the way, about the payment, after everything happened, we talked with the other students and we found out that job pressured everyone to pay for the program quickly. She had different excuses for each of us. Some were told that it was the last spot in the program and if they didn't pay, they would lose it. To another girl, she supposedly gave a discount, just like me, and wrote to her every day to hurry up and pay because it was the last scholarship and such a chance wouldn't come again. Here is what she wrote to me.
You can imagine the psychological pressure, right? Yes, now I understand that when we first got interested in the program, we were on this wave of inspiration and strong interest, because getting in, learning from dance idols, it was a dream. With a short time frame for the payment, we didn't have time to reconsider, because we were all blinded by the awesomeness of it all. And time to think, that's time to consider how expensive it is, whether it's worth it, to discuss with our parents about moving to another country, to ask other students about the program. And by then there were already a lot of situations which we now know by previous students.
All this could have made us change our minds, so she told many of us to pay within 2 days, so we wouldn't have time to reconsider or find out more details and pay while we were still swept up in the excitement of what we could get. Now, after talking to students from previous years, we know that 2 of the best teachers in this program would never have come to teach, and they had a huge falling out with Joe. Many of us wanted to be part of this program because of these 2 girls, but no one knew they would have never come.
Not long after all this happened, one of these girls, the one I'm talking about, posted on Instagram about her life over 12 years working with Joe. And I really want you all to read this. The post was written in Danish, but I translated it into English for you. Please pause this video and read it carefully, so you understand what kind of person we ended up with. This is just insane. No words really, right? I've been thinking, is this why everything ended this year? Because she stopped receiving the main income from these 2 girls, and possibly this is what kept the program going. But where did the students' money go? After she stopped working with these girls in the winter, she still recruited students for the next year. She didn't close the program. Did she think she could survive on the money from new students, or was the plan always to recruit people over the new year, collect a good amount of money, and then leave to start a new life? She of course assured us she never wanted this, but who believes that? Our dreams are shattered, our hearts broken, our goals crushed. Later we decided to check the bank accounts to which we all sent money, and it turned out they were all different. All different, guys. Sitting in the kitchen trying to come to terms with everything, we messaged in the group and everyone decided to come together to the studio to discuss what to do next, what the hell we should do, where to go. We were all in complete shock, not knowing where to turn. We arrived at the studio and I immediately saw the sad, tear-streaked faces, the confusion and the wild pain in everyone's eyes. One girl was crying because she moved here with her boyfriend, who had specifically applied to university here for her. To put it into perspective, she paid for this and the next year's tuition, which amounted to... Another girl had decided not to go to university after high school to come to this program. Another girl who desperately wanted to connect her life to dance, but her parents were against it. This program was her request to her parents to give her a chance. She wanted this so badly. A girl from Portugal immediately started looking for flights home the next day. They cost 750 euros.
We wrote to Ricky, who was supposed to teach us the upcoming 2 weeks, and who was also sitting in Copenhagen at the moment. And here is the reply we got. And then, a bit later, he said this. We tried emailing Jo, but she had deleted her email account along with all her social media, phone number and WhatsApp. There was no way to reach her. We started contacting teachers who had either already visited us or were supposed to come. They were all shocked by what had happened, but all they could offer was emotional support. Her husband, who was in charge of our housing and student apartments, had created WhatsApp groups for each house. One of the girls messaged the group, asking him if the rent for the house had been paid, since we had all paid deposits and monthly fees. His response? He left the group. Completely disappeared from WhatsApp.
Together we decided to go to the police, but not as a large group. We agreed to choose someone local who spoke Danish, along with a few others. We also created a Facebook group with our parents because we felt they might be more experienced and some of them were even lawyers. We hoped they could come up with a solution. Someone shared a piece of information that may or may not be true. Apparently on September 9th, a business under Jo's name was registered in Oregon, USA. How could this be true? It's just unbelievable. In the meantime, we tried contacting the landlords of the houses Jo had placed us in. And as it turned out, she didn't own those properties. Some of the students from previous years said the police had shown up at their house during the school year, threatening eviction because the rent hadn't been paid. Two girls from last year told us that Jo claimed they had damaged the house and evicted them near the end of the school year. They ended up living with the Ukrainian family I told you about in my previous vlog. Whether they actually caused damage or Jo simply didn't pay rent, we'll never know. Some of the girls who were supposed to join the program received strange messages claiming they'd been scammed and signed up for fake programs. The emails suggested that someone had hacked their accounts. It was all so clever and so devastating. The next day, some of the girls went to the police while we waited for responses from the landlords to see how long we could stay. In the meantime, we decided to keep going to the studio, stretching and learning each other's choreography, at least until we were kicked out or had some clarity. At the police station, our guys were told that it couldn't be registered as a fraud, but rather as a civil case. They were directed to a help center instead. We all eventually got responses from the landlords, and the verdict was clear. The rent hadn't been paid, and we had to move out as soon as possible. We were in complete shock and despair. We wrote back explaining the entire situation, hoping they'd give us more time. Some of them were understanding and allowed us to stay until the 27th, just over a week. But that same day, 3 girls walked into the studio in tears. They were being evicted that day. In a panic, those of us who had been granted a little more time immediately offered to let them stay in our houses. But imagine having to move all your belongings just like that. Some of us had already left for home, hearts broken. Honestly, I can't even describe how I felt. I was in complete despair, not knowing what to do next, and going back to my home country where there is a war and where I have no job or place to live wasn't an option for me. I left everything behind to come here, staying here, but where would I go when we were evicted? And how would I survive?
I reached out to volunteers who help Ukrainians, explaining my situation. They didn't know how to help, except to suggest I go to a refugee camp. I was stunned. From chasing my dreams to being told to go to a camp, it felt surreal. That day, we held a funeral for the CDE program. We hung black flags in the studio, lit candles, and tore down the signs. Later, we gathered all the evidence we had, screenshots, payment records, and our personal stories about how much we'd paid. We handed everything over to the police and the help center. Meanwhile, chaos was unfolding on Facebook. In our parents' group, there were hundreds of messages. Under an Instagram post, random people started commenting about how Joe hadn't paid them in the past. The stories kept piling up, so many unpaid amounts.
Then came the most shocking discovery. On a site where people sell second-hand items, someone found listings for studio equipment we recognized. Joe's equipment. The listings had just been posted. This meant someone was helping her right now. Was it a relative, a student, someone who still had contact with her during all of this? And then the real madness began. But you'll have to wait for the next vlog to find out who was helping Joe and what happened next to us and to her. Thank you for all your comments and support. I read everything and it means the world to me. This experience has left a massive attack on my life. Massive mark on my life. Until next time, your Siri.